Hi there and welcome to Planet Zoo. So today I've got a quick video for you to showcase my latest build, my very first walk-in enclosure. Now, I realised I've been playing Planet Zoo for like 7 months and I've never built a walk-in enclosure. So I decided to give it a go with a fully enclosed walk-in habitat for the Capuchin monkey. The Capuchin is included as part of the South America DLC, and they're a friendly little animal, and as far as I know they're not dangerous, so they don't mind people walking through their enclosure. So for the building, I wanted an unobtrusive, natural looking building, but with a clean, modern feel. The building sits on this raised platform, which is wheelchair accessible of course, and this creates a nice outside waiting area with a glass panel fence. The building itself is 3 stories high, not including the raised platform, so it's not excessively tall, which I normally have a problem avoiding. I've stayed away from the South American architecture, and instead I've used wooden plaster as the base for the building. I've amped up the South America feel with the plants and vegetation, rather than the architecture. That way, this is a building that could look at home in any kind of zoo without heavy theming for the South American feel. The planting I've used outside, I have gone a little bit overboard on this, but I think that's needed to give the South American ambience. This is very much a rainforest abundance. Now, I will admit the building is kind of a square box, but I've kind of offset this with the staggered wood panelling. On a hot or rainy day, the overhang provides guests a bit of protection from the weather too. Around this side of the building I've added a wall mural. I created this using the painted brick column piece. This piece is colourable and quite vibrant. It's just a shame that the monkey sign, the colours for this aren't nearly as bright. From a distance though, I quite like the style of this wall. Around the back of the building, now this is more muted as guests won't see this part of the building up close. The wall here forms a semicircle, which from the inside creates a nice focal point. The other side here is the keeper entrance away from guests' eyes, and this just has a plain wall on the side. The roof of the building, this is mostly glass, allowing light into the building. For the extension here, I've used wooden beams and bamboo panels, since I like the pattern this makes and the variation in textures and colours. Alright, so that's the outside of the habitat. Let's take a look inside. First off, I've created a separate viewing gallery for people that want to see the monkeys but maybe don't want to get so up and close and personal with them through the walk-in experience. Now, these double doors lead to a separate viewing area. This is fully contained, so no monkeys will be getting through here. It's set a little back from where the action's happening, but it's still close enough to get a good view. I've made this mostly out of wooden beams and glass, and the path here, this is on a grid, so it's extended into the enclosure, so guests do actually walk into this little bit as well. So that's the viewing gallery. Let's take a look inside the walkthrough part. First off, guests are greeted with the entrance gate. This is an additional barrier inside the building to prevent monkeys escaping. Now, fun fact, when I first built this and added the monkeys, these lighter wood panels back here at the side, they didn't register as a block, so all of the monkeys made a beeline for it and escaped. So I think I've got 30 monkeys in here, 22 of them escaped. My frame rate dropped to what looked like a slideshow. Anyway, I figured out it was these wood bits that were the cause of the problem, so I managed to fix that by putting in some additional plaster panels. I've had 0 escapes since fixing that problem. This little hut here is to provide guests with extra information, which I imagine would be like the rules for not frightening the monkeys, like don't walk outside of the designated part of the path, maybe it'll display feeding times, which I assume would be the most popular time to visit. I also added a pay station here. Even though this isn't functional, I felt that a commercial zoo would probably want an additional charge for guests wanting the walkthrough experience. Those that don't want to pay can still see the monkeys from the viewing gallery for free though. I've added an extra warning sign in this section too, just to make it very clear the monkeys will suffer if the guests try feeding them, outside of their designated feeding times of course. So the walkthrough section itself, it's not a long path. That said, the monkeys have plenty of space to get away from guests if they need to. The path is sectioned off with a rope barricade, which the monkeys actually climb along, which is really fun to watch. Inside the habitat there are plenty of climbing areas, and the monkeys will climb up the trees too. This platform here wraps around the tree and then goes over the path, and this gives guests a great view of the monkeys climbing about. Along this wall here, I made this climbing wall so there's platforms for the monkeys to sit at different levels. Up here's some bedding as well. This continues on above the viewing gallery, so is away from guest eyes and a private hangout area for them to get some peace. They really like sleeping on this bit up here. From here, I've incorporated the building architecture into the habitat. The monkeys will climb across this log here to get to this platform. They also like hanging out up here quite a lot, and they get a nice view of the outside from here as well. So back to following the path. In the centre here, I have a water feature flowing through from the back wall, which is where that curved wall really comes in useful. There's a bridge across the water, and this gives a great view of the monkeys traversing the rocks. I put a waterfall back here, which, if I'm honest, I still suck at making waterfalls. I've no idea why I have such a problem with waterfalls, but every time I make one, it looks pants, so apologies about that. Anyway, up top on the rocks, when I was building this, the monkeys were having some difficulty navigating their way up here, so I've added these wood platforms and logs to help them get up there. There's also some enrichment items up here to encourage them to go over there. This platform down is traversable by the keepers too, so they have a safe means of cleaning up the mess up here. This leads back down to the feeding area. There's a couple of feeding platforms in here and an enrichment feeder to keep it interesting. Now, I've added a wooden ladder here, and when I first put this in, it was closer to the keeper's entrance, and the monkeys would actually climb up it to get to the platform above. Since I've moved it, because I had to move some stuff around with the path in, they don't use this anymore, and I'm not entirely sure why. I've not changed the angle, I've not changed like the height or anything, it's just moved to the side a little bit, and now the monkeys are no longer interested in it, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. I've left this piece in because it's kind of make-believe that if the keepers could climb in this game, they'd probably use this ladder to clean the platform above. The keeper entrance, I've deliberately got this at ground level, and the ground is a little steep here, but it's still accessible. I lowered the keeper entrance so it's a little less visible for guests. Originally, I had this fully blocked off with a doorway and a wall piece, but the keepers couldn't navigate their way through the door, hence why I had to change some things around and move some of the pieces in here, so that's why the keeper entrance is a little more open than I want it to be. I guess, all in all, this has been a fun little build, and honestly, I spent ages just watching the monkeys run around. How they program the animals to climb structures you make is simply amazing. It is a genuine delight to watch. If you'd like to view it yourself, I've added the build to the Steam Workshop. There's a link to that in the description below. Just bear in mind, the build is a bit CPU hungry with all the climbable pieces, so you might want to delete a few of these if you're using this in a big zoo. The building itself is made from all non-DLC pieces, so every piece I've used to build the structure is in the base game. I have, however, used South American DLC plants, as they're a little bit more vibrant than what you get in the base game. I think what I'll do so that everyone can use this build, I think I'll upload 2 versions of it to the Steam Workshop. One with the plants, so you'll need the American DLC for that, and one without it, so you can use it if you've just got the base game. Anyway, let me know what you think of this build in the comments. I appreciate any and all feedback. That is it from me today, so without rambling on, thanks for watching, bye for now.